I'm so fortunate in both these fantasy shows that the directors and producers came to me because they were fans of my work. So they immediately, were gave me a seat at the table, like an equal seat at the table. So I've been in situations before where it's like, oh, Joe, you're lucky to have this gig. So, they tell me what they want and I got to go do it. I'm like the waiter at a restaurant or something. So, okay, yes, sir, here's the steak. But it's awesome when it's a more fine dining experience where, they go, hey, what's good at this restaurant? What might you recommend? What's fresh today? And so I get to have a conversation with them as an equal, and it's less about what it works for, Lord of the Rings was a fantasy, had orchestra, so we need orchestra. It's less about that, and it's more about what is unique to this series. What are the colors that we could have in our score to set our series apart? What can we use to tell our story in our unique way that when people hear the score, they know it's not Lord of the Rings. They know it's not Game of Thrones. They know it's Shadow and Bone, and so that's really the core of the conversation. There's certain inevitables, right? To have a grand epic adventure in cinematic style, you need orchestra. There's just some realities. But then outside of that, like where for both, it's funny dealing with these two series that have a lot of quote unquote Slavic influence. Slavic is like just such an all-encompassing word. So I've had to like dive deep into, okay, Witcher is more, Polish, Polish, Baltic, whereas Shadow and Bone is more Russian, Bulgarian, so and even there's lots of overlap and lots of places to crash into each other. And I'm trying to like keep them. I think we've done a good job so far of making the sound of the shows very different, which I'm very proud of. But there's a lot to navigate there, and that I think is one of the harder parts of my job not because it's hard for me musically, but it's so subjective. So I might do something that says, "Oh, this feels so Russian to me. This is great." And then you get a note that says, "Why does this sound so Spanish?" Or something, So like,
right.
You really have to. That's yet another reason why starting early, I'd really recommend to everyone. I make it a point, like for instance, I'll fully admit I had not read The Witcher. So I was not like sitting there playing Witcher video games like our lead actor Henry Cavill, who like knows everything
right.
about he's like a Wikipedia of Witcher apparently.
Yeah.
Like he knows every little thing. I was like the opposite end. This was like, what's The Witcher? But I knew the people involved. I've read about it. I watched this season 1. I said, this thing is freaking cool. Now I'm a huge Witcher fan and I'm reading the books and I'm getting into it. And so, I think I like to say that my first job is to become a fan. My first job is to understand the story, and then we could have these conversations where, hopefully we can then, because of the story, drive the music into places that are unique to that story.